to another installment of the Lone Wolfer Garage Moto Vlog. I am your host, the Lone Wolfer. We are still adventuring up here in New Hampshire during Laconia Motorcycle Week. And we are on our way to a very special location. Right now I am up in the White Mountain National Forest, and I am on my way to the first ever highly publicized, possibly first ever publicized alien abduction site. That's right, I am going up to the Betty and Barney Hill incident location, or the Zeta Reticuli abduction site. It would help if people didn't stop every 2 seconds and could take off. If you are familiar with Betty and Barney Hill, then kudos to you. I am a fan of yours already. However, if you are not, Betty and Barney Hill were an American couple. Interestingly enough, they were a biracial couple. Betty was a white woman, Barney was a black man. This, during the time of when it happened in 1961, was very interesting in the news. It doesn't really matter, but it comes into play a little later. But on the night of September 19th, 1961, they were driving along Route 3 here in New Hampshire, and they were on their way home from a vacation in Montreal and Niagara Falls. They lived in Portsmouth, New Hampshire, and they were heading back home when Betty saw something weird in the sky, and she actually wanted her husband to stop so they could take a look at it. It's a pretty interesting place, Clark's Trading Post. Supposedly they wrestle a bear here. I've never been to it before, but maybe one day. Anyway, back to the story. So they were coming back from their trip, and Betty saw something weird in the sky, and she asked her husband to stop and check it out. They pull out a pair of binoculars, they look up, and what they can see is something they don't understand. And at first, Barney's trying to say that it's a plane, it's flying to Montreal, but then it takes a very random turn that a plane cannot do, and he becomes very, how we say, convinced that it is extraterrestrial. Definitely not of this world. After this observation, they get back in the car, and Barney happens to have a gun in his pocket, and he takes it out. When they see the UFO, for lack of a better term, fly down and basically fill their entire window. So at this point, he says that he can see inside of the windows on the UFO, and that they actually communicate with him in some manner, telling them to stay where they are. You can go online and you can find out so much more information about this. You can find out the entire transcript of what they said, what they claimed happened during their abduction, the missing time. Everything is very well documented, as the UFO arm of the Air Force actually had gotten involved. And it happened to be a very, normal thing for people to see something weird and call the Air Force. There was an actual entire branch that dealt with UFOs. The going theory is that they wanted people to call in and say that they saw something. The Air Force was actually testing new aircraft, and they wanted to know if their new stuff was working. And if it was working, nobody reported anything. When it wasn't working, people reported a bunch of crazy stuff. So supposedly we are getting very close to the spot. Where the actual marker is signifying the abduction site. Let's see if we can find it. found it! Hopefully everybody is able to see this. It has an official seal of the state of New Hampshire, 1776, Betty and Barney Hill incident. On the night of September 19th, 20th, 1961, Portsmouth, New Hampshire couple Betty and Barney Hill experienced a close encounter with an unidentified flying object and 2 hours of lost time while driving south on Route 3 near Lincoln. They filed an official Air Force Project Blue Book report of a brightly lit cigar-shaped craft the next day, but were not public with their story until it was leaked in the Boston Traveler in 1965. This was the first widely reported UFO abduction report in the United States. Now, like I said earlier, that Benny and Barney Hill were actually an interracial couple. This was more significant in my own life, as whenever I read about this incident, I always thought it was going to be in the South somewhere, because it was always, pointed out that they were an interracial couple in everything that I read. I happened to be coming up here last year and was randomly looking for different things to do. I saw that this was an area that people like to visit. And I was like, oh, that's really weird. What is this? But then I was like, oh, I know this story. I've been reading about this my whole life. And I'm an idiot because I thought this was in the South because their races were such a big deal in so many of the stories written about it and so many of the ways I heard it. However, it was not in the South. It was up here in New Hampshire on Route 3, just north of Lincoln in the White Mountains. And this is where the first ever widely publicized alien abduction took place. Now, if you are interested in alien abductions or learning about those types of things, I highly recommend looking into the Betty and Barney Hill incident, as there is a great deal written about it. And her alma mater, the University of New Hampshire, has all of the transcripts, all of the articles, many of her journals from years afterwards, which contain very, very interesting dreams and random memories that she had from afterwards. And I would highly recommend reading about it if you are interested in the subject. Also, if you are interested in listening to me tell stories and go random places, please follow along here on YouTube by subscribing. Or if you liked this particular moto vlog, please give it a like or even a share. Thank you for coming out with me.